Hello, I'm Dan Meal, and I just want to explain the basics constraints that are used in A2 Plus. I've picked A2 Plus from the constraints here, or from the different programs. If you don't have A2 Plus on your machine, you can get it from Tools, Add-on Manager, select it, and download it. You restart the program, and you'll have it on your machine. I'm going to use a standard program for me for showing things. I've done some sheds and stuff in this, so I've got 2x4s here, and the constraints are up here. They're grayed out at the moment, and I use this dialog box to create the constraint. These are grayed out at the moment, but what you do is you have to pick two constraints or two surfaces or features to show the ones that you can use. So I picked that face there, hold down the control key, select that face, and these constraints become available. This one here is an angle constraint, and that we can add an angle between those two faces. This one here is a collinear constraint, and it basically sticks those two faces together. This constraint is a parallel constraint where it will make those surfaces parallel but not stick them together. So I'm picking the collinear here. Now sometimes these boards come at on the wrong side. Sometimes they don't look like they're connected, but if you turn the screen so that you can see where the boards are, you can see that that's connected on top. If it's not connected, you can change the direction of the mate from aligned to opposed. So if something comes in and it looks wrong, this is the first thing that you can try to do. We'll accept that constraint, and everything's grayed out again. So we select this face, collinear, and it looks pretty good from here. Sometimes when you turn them, you'll see that that constraint is not on top of the board where we want it. So here I flip the direction again, and now it's more lined up with the board. So I will accept it. And then I'll select this face, hold down the control key. These three mates become available again, and there is our board on the edge of the base plate. No, I don't want to. Oh, I just have to accept. And now I'll exit from here. Now you can move pieces around on this program, and you can do that by clicking on the board. This is a move selected part, and you can move that around. You can select this one, move the selected part, same thing. Now the difference between these two parts is this one has the constraints. So when you come up here to solve the constraints, this board will go back into the position. This one here will not. So here's pushing the solve button, and you can see that it's back where it needs to be. So we'll stick another board on there, and we will use the distance mate in a second. So once again, I select this one, I select this one here. We got our three constraints, and this time I'm going to use put this to the front of that board. Whoops. I forgot to hold on to it. Nope. I'm going to delete this constraint because it looks like I goofed something up. So yes, I really want to delete it. So I select that surface, constrain. Oh, it's not quite the way we want it again. I don't think people would like us with a 2x4 sticking out. So we flip the sign, or we flip the direction again. Boy, oh 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 boy. Delete it again. These deletes are really easy to do. And I am going to back out again. Hi, this is Dan. I'm going to try to show you some basic constraints in the A2 Plus program. If you don't have it, you can go to Tools, Add-on Manager, and install it from there. The constraints always start grayed out, and what we need to do is pick two surfaces or features to make this constraint work. In this case, I'm going to select the end of this board. We'll put two studs on this 16 inches apart. So I hold down the control key and I select this surface, and the constraints become available. This is a parallel mate. It will make those two surfaces parallel. This collinear will stick them together, and this angled one, we can add an angle to make an angle. So now it's stuck on there. The next mate we'll put is between this side of the board. I hold down the control key, and this side of the board. Whoops, I've got to accept the last mate first. So we hold down this side, and we can kind of turn it around. You can see that the mates are off again. So we flip the direction, and now those two sides are lined up the way that we want. So we can accept it. And the next piece is to get this surface. Hold down the control key. We want it flat with this surface. And we pick the constraint again. And looks like we're good to go. So I accept that constraint. You can move these pieces around if you want to. I'm going to move this board and this board out of place. So I select this one. I come up here to move selected part, and I move it out of place. I can select this one, move the part. But the difference between those is that this one has constraints. So when we run this solve button, it will put this board back into place. Here goes the button, and you can see how that the constraints work there. So 2x4 number 2, we again get the constraint tool, highlight that one, highlight this one, put them together. And this offset is what we'll be using in a second in order for these boards to be 16 inches apart. Control key, that surface, constraint. So we want these center to center. So I believe from the been a while since You can see that that 2x4 is not, no, it's sitting on there properly. Okay. So we want this surface well, oh, I have to accept the last mate. We want this surface to be 16 inches to the center of this other stud, so I think it's 15 and a quarter that we need to set those at. So I select that surface, control key, select that surface, hit this constraint, and you can see that those flew together. The second one's actually inside this 2x4. So we can come over here, put an offset of 15.25. We accept it. Oh, have to solve it first. Boy. Discard. Hey, this is Dan. I'm going to show you a couple basic constraints. I'm going to put this stud on this bottom board. It's a 2x4s. If you're building a basement, these constraints are blacked out or disabled. And in order to create a constraint, you need to select two surfaces or other features to get them to show. I like to use this dialog up here, and that opens a constraint tool such as this, and select a surface, hold the control key down, select the other surface. Now we can make those two planes parallel but we don't know how far apart they are. We can put an angle between them, but what we want is the center one, which will basically glue them together. You can see that they're level here, so that's what I want. Sometimes these mates come in wrong. You can flip the direction to straighten them out. So this is good. I accept it. We need to put this side, hold down the control key, to that side, constraint. The next thing that we're going to do is make this surface, control key, flush with that one. Oops, I got to accept the last one. So now we go with this one and this one, and you can tell that we're on the board there. We accept the mate. If you move these boards apart, which you can do by this button up here, you can highlight that, go move. You can move this board, even though it's got constraints on it. You can move it, but when you solve it using this button, press, it goes back into place. I'm going to put the next board on there. First two constraints. You normally need three constraints. The first two constraints will be collinears here. Now you notice I selected the surfaces first. Now I can pick that and then pick that surface. And I accept that mate. I will pick the front of this, control key, hold that. That's the way that I want it, so I accept that mate. And next we need to put this, I think it's 15 and a quarter inches from this surface to that surface. I pick this surface, I pick this surface, I can then pick solve. We can put an offset of 15 and a quarter in, solve the constraint, and this, you can see here it came out just a little bit. That's because it's actually working in millimeters here, so you have to put in inches. IN, and that started moving the wrong way, so then we need to change the sign here, and you can see that it's all updated now. Supposedly from this edge to the center of this one should be 15 and a quarter, but I'm just going to keep going and not check it right now. We accept that mate. So that's the way that you can use the collinear constraint to put pieces together. I'll come up with another mate in a couple more seconds. See you then. Bye.